and I'm a leadership and life strategist and a solution seeker who's been in practice for about 30 years. In this video, I'm really excited to share with you something that's going to help you open the door. I'm going to take a really important first step, if you wish, to learn how to change behavior. So if you've ever been faced with a situation where you might be dealing with a difficult behavior, perhaps because of autism, Alzheimer's, dementia, developmental disabilities, or some other mental health disorder, then this step and the How to De-Escalate Anyone Anywhere Anytime, a skill building workshop that I'll be helping you to build on what you learn here, I'm going to share with you. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that workshop at the end of this video. I've worked with lots of people, individuals and in group settings. And here's something that I noticed from my leadership and life strategist perspective. You see, I could see when people are about to repeat the same behavior. We've talked about changing. See, in a session we'll talk about changing it, or they've talked about wanting to change and they're committed to actually making the change. But somehow they do the same thing, knowing that it's going to put them in the same circumstances and that it's not really in alignment with what their goals are or what's in their best interest or even in the best interest of their loved ones. But they seem to do the same thing. And I've done the same thing. I've repeated patterns too. So I discovered it's not really an individual personal problem. This is really a human being challenge. You see, I found myself in my own personal circumstances scared and overwhelmed and triggered when I was faced with the challenging behaviors of my son, who suffers the ravages of a mental illness and addictions. Over and over again, I tried to manage what seemed to be an unmanageable situation that too many times ended in a 911 call. And I really wanted to help him find solutions, not feel like I was part of the problem. I had to find a way to break this pattern, and I really hungered for a more ordered, predictable, and peaceful relationship for he and I, and for the whole family. So I used my 30 years of experience learning different strategies and protocols, in which I was trying to find ways to help other people, including myself, make the shift from habitual programming and a reactive state of mind, where I don't think we find ourselves, or we don't think and we find ourselves attracted to the same things, even though our intellect and our goals are completely opposite. I focused in on trying to apply what I knew to this pattern. What do we do in order to get ourselves making choices from an empowered place instead of a place of automatic? So I eventually put a lot of different puzzle pieces together from various modalities. And I have something for you that you can do in less than 3 minutes that can open the door for you to make a difference, to make a different choice, to deal with the behavior differently. So what can you do in less than 3 minutes that opens the door for a new pattern to be created? Well, this is what's really interesting. The human mind needs a pattern. It needs something to follow. And in science, we call it a neural pathway. So what do we do to make space for something new that's in alignment with our goals? I would like to take you through a visualization process, and together we can start a new way of being able to create a new pattern for you. So before we get to reprogramming the subconscious, what we need to do is be able to interrupt the pattern so that we can do something a little bit different. So there's an exercise that Call It Baron Reed created that I'm going to teach you that will enable you to experience something that's called spatial distance. So come with me, and we're going to use a guided visualization. And let me show you how effortless it is to get detached and to distance yourself from whatever it is that's bothering you, because we can all get trapped in a pattern. And I'm going to show you how to stop it so that you can make changes. Okay, so find a comfortable place to sit. Close your eyes, if you choose, and just listen to my voice. Or you can continue to watch this video, whichever you choose. Take a nice deep breath. And pick one of those things that constantly bothers you, one of those patterns that you can't seem to get around. You know, the ones where you go, oh my God, I'm here again. And just imagine that pattern and place it in a box. And with that, put in the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelm. So all of that and all of the problems that go along with it, and the pattern of energy that goes along with it, all of it is contained in this box. And the box can be as big or as small as you need it to be. And put all the consequences of that pattern in the box. When you have all of that in the box, close the lid and step back. Now, see that this box is in front of you. If you take a little look to the side, you can notice that you and your box are at the base of a mountain. Just allow yourself to see how large or small your box is. How does it make you feel looking at that box? Paying close attention to the fact that you're not the box. Notice you're the one that's looking at it. Are you kind of getting a sense of, it's over there. It's close to you. And you feel like you can get away from it, but you're not it. Well, this might seem kind of like the first, I'm a little bit separate from what I put in the box. Now, imagine that there's an elevator right beside you that can take you to the top of the mountain. You get in the elevator and just leave your box right at the bottom there. All your issues, all of the pattern is in that box. And up you go. It's a tall mountain. Maybe it's about 10,000 feet in the air. And quickly you find yourself at the top. Now, look over the side of the mountain. You're perfectly safe. If you're afraid of heights like I am, there is a railing. So now look down. How big or small is that box now? How far away is it? Is it still there? We know we can't really make it go away, but you have moved away from the box. How does it affect you now? Now that you're at the top of the mountain, does it have the same effect on you? Now look around you. Look at what you can see from this vantage point, top of the mountain. Can you possibly imagine what it would be like not to have to carry the box around with you? Now, just open your eyes. So, how was that experience for you? And if you're thinking, hey, Catherine, that was great, but how does this really help me reprogram my conscious, my subconscious? Well, let's put a little science to it. The guided visualization or creative visualization is a way to create a virtual reality. It's a mind and a body experience that causes a shift in perspective and perception. You see, when you experience the process mentally and emotionally, your subconscious doesn't know it's actually not real. And this is really, really cool because the process draws on memories that you've stored in deeper layers of the subconscious mind. So here's another experience. So imagine, I think most of us have probably flown. So we're looking at the 10,000 feet in the air. So imagine that you're looking outside an airplane window. And you know that you're looking down at an object that was really large when you were first on land, but it seems really tiny when you're in an airplane, or say if you're at the top of a mountain. So it seems to be impossible to handle when it's right beside you. even though it might have started off in a box, with a little bit of distance, it may have a little bit of influence over you, but because it's not so close and it's far away, there's a whole other realm of possibility open to you, because we're not as close to the issue. We can choose something else. We have that option. We have other choices. We can see things differently. So what does that have to do with reprogramming the subconscious? Well, let's start by first thinking about that box. When we feel a certain way and when we're triggered into a pattern, we're in our minds and in our bodies, and we identify with it. So we usually say things like, I'm angry, or, oh, darn, I'm here again. And it's a really internal experience. So it's really hard to separate from something that we perceive as happening to us. We have no power to change it in that moment, and we can't even think our way out of it. Why? Because the experience is right in us. Now, if we take this visually and we see that those very same things, those feelings, those thoughts, and those beliefs are now contained in a box, and if we allow our imagination to bring us to the place of, I'm not the box is over there, then it immediately relieves you of that pattern that the subconscious is actually looking to reinforce. And another amazing thing, there is a hormone cascade that goes along with this too. So when we're in a pattern that we don't want, then we're under stress, and our bodies are filled with cortisol, and everything is contracted. That's all we can see in that minute until we get relief. Now, once we get relief, then there's the feel-good hormones, the endorphins, rush through our bodies. And in that moment, we have an opening. We have a window of an opportunity. So we can make a different choice. We can perceive things, or our perspective changes. And so we're no longer feel trapped by all of that that's contained in the box. So let me tell you how spatial distance works. The minute we see ourselves as separate from the thing that's inside us, we have an opportunity to make another choice because we're relaxed. From a relaxed place, we can make different choices. So when we're behaving in a certain way that we're programmed to, when we think in a certain way, and our bodies feel in a certain way, then our hormones are reacting in a certain way. So that means if we're in that stress place, then we got the cortisol, everything's contracting, and we don't have the ability to make another choice. But once we relax and the endorphins are in our bodies, then we have an opening. We can make a different choice. And we can do that by using that guided visualization or a creative visualization. So here, let's give me another example how this kind of virtual reality experience works. If you're focusing in on the box and it draws your attention, then really, depending on the size of your box, but for most of us, when it's a pattern that's been repeated for a long time, it's fairly big, it limits our capacity to see anything else, to visualize anything outside in our surroundings. So imagine that that box is really the center of a circle you have. And it's a central focus then. Now, imagine being elevated high in the air looking down at the box. You can notice that it's smaller. Your experience of it changes. All your issues are still there, but you haven't made it go away, but you haven't resisted it, and you haven't changed them, and you haven't fought with any of them. And that's, even though we may have boxed them, you're now experiencing a perspective called spatial distance. Now you have a sense memory of what it's like to be hundreds or thousands of feet up in the air. You know your mind knows right away, and your whole being adjusts the body-mind experience when invited into this process, which mimics the real thing. It feels real, and the subconscious responds to it automatically as if it were. So if I'm far away from what caused me stress, overwhelm, or anxiety, or whatever the story is that's in the box, it's now symbolically contained. It no longer is the same size, and so your whole outlook naturally expands. No longer is the box the center of a small circle, because you have more that you can see. And so you can make choices that are freer, that are more empowered decisions. And you can, in that place, change habitual behavior. Your thinking can be positive, and you can bypass the conditioning that's held you hostage to negative thoughts and patterns and behaviors. So if we have an ability to make a more empowered choice and change things, what does that mean? Well, that means that we can actually have a better life. We now have a process where we can choose the change. And the more you reinforce that choice, it then becomes your primary experience. And the subconscious can be conditioned to a new reality. And really, that's what all this is about. So the next time that you feel anxious about something, or your loved one is saying or doing things that are causing you stress, and you're feeling overwhelmed, and maybe even you're having too much work, or you're feeling put upon and nobody's really helping you, or maybe you're in the middle of a fight, or really any other stressful situation, I'd like you to take it a minute before you react. Well, because, hey, we're programmed, and you probably will. To do this guided visualization, to take a breath, to put that issue, to put that in a box, and see if you can't gain a little perspective or a little spatial distance to make a little bit different choice. So that you can say to yourself, I am not the box. I'm the one who's looking at the box. Now, of course, you can go back and get that box later because, well, all your problems will probably still be there. But if you take a moment and breathe into the fact that you are not what's in the box, you will have an experience of spatial distance. And you probably won't have the same argument, or need to threaten, or need to control the other person. You probably feel calmer and feel some relief, because it won't matter so much about all of the other things that are going around you. They won't affect you so much because you will have the option of conscious choice. Because often when confronted with behaviors, we feel really unprepared to manage, but we have no choice. We will react. Very much as I was finding in the situation with my son. I found myself in an automatic reaction, and I really needed to find a way to give myself some spatial distance so that I can become more skilled at managing the situation differently. So I can help you find that spatial distance to make the right choice for you and your family, the one that will allow you to create order in the chaos, that gives you and your loved one dignity, respect on the road to recovery. So if you're interested in learning more about how to remain in control at all times, how to support anyone anywhere with any issue, and avoid the wrong response that would make the situation worse, then please register for DeEscalate Anyone Anywhere Anytime.
Thank you, Catherine. This has been Catherine Corey of Recovery Academy, and you can find them online at recoveryacademy.ca. We'll be sure and put any links that go along with this creative guided meditation visualization, and have all that available for you on the Recovery Academy site.